friends. I hope you all are doing good. I am Neha and I would like to introduce Anu Handa, who is the co-founder of Mosaic Institute of Design. Mosaic Institute provides entrance preparation material for design and architecture exams across India. Anu specializes in SEO and her website, with more than 1,000 keywords appearing on page 1 of Google search results, receives 100% organic monthly traffic. She has been the lead blog writer at mosaicdesigns.in since 2009. Her educational background in interior design, urban planning, and the English language has given her a broad base to cover a range of topics in her articles. She has spent more than 15 years training design and architecture aspirants for entrance exams. She likes to write about design, architecture, and related fields on online platforms. She identifies herself as an edupreneur and aims to challenge the conventional and age-old teaching methodology. Anu Handa is also National President, Wiki E-Commerce Council, and aims to promote representation of women in the e-commerce sector, encourage and empower them to venture into e-commerce.
Thanks, Neha, for the wonderful introduction.
Anu, please share about yourself and your journey till now.
So, talking about my journey, I studied interior design but practiced it for a very short time. I realized my inclination was more towards the academic part of it. I studied about design, read more about it, and explored that I enjoyed teaching design. My journey into design education started when I joined a design institute nearby my place as a faculty for interior design. I had a very good time over there, and my students loved me for my teaching style. Now, there was a subject called History of Interiors and Architecture, which no faculty wanted to teach, and obviously the students also hated it because the common perception is that history is very boring. So I took it as a challenge and I introduced practical methods of teaching. I encouraged the students to prepare model, held contests between different groups, and tried to make the subject as interactive as possible. Slowly, the students also started to enjoy the subject, and this gave me confidence to explore further into design education. So in the year 2007, I co-founded Mosaic Institute of Design along with my husband. Now, why the name Mosaic? Mosaic is an ancient Roman art form in which small pieces of glass or ceramic are put together in the form of a pattern over a wall or floor surface. So we started by providing classroom coaching for architecture and design entrance exams. Also, we started short-term and small-term courses in interior design, fashion design, and fine arts. We started with a very small batch size of 10 students, but very soon we had to move to bigger classrooms. And the students started pouring in not only from Gujarat, but all across India and some even from foreign countries. At this time, we were spending very little on ads and most of our references were coming from word of mouth. In the year 2009, we launched our website by the name of mosaicdesigns.in. By this time, I had compiled all my coaching materials in the form of self-study books and we started selling it through our website. In the very starting, our website was a static one with just 12 pages. And at this time, I had no technical gyan as to how to run a website, but I was always very curious as to how to add more value to my website. So around the year 2010, there was this new term that became very popular called SEO or search engine optimization. So I got curious and got myself enrolled in a course in a nearby institute on SEO. There I learned the basics of SEO and started to apply it in my website. So slowly we started to add more pages on our site. We worked on the programming, upgraded the design, worked on the SEO and followed all guidelines to rank in search engines. We also introduced a blog section on our website and I particularly enjoyed writing articles for the blog. After 10 successful years in the year 2017, we decided to stop classroom coaching and we started to concentrate fully on our website. We also introduced other products in the form of ebooks, videos, and online tests, which were received very well by the student community. Today, our website is more than 800 pages strong more than 1,000 keywords appearing in Google page one and receiving a monthly traffic of 10,000 to 15,000 visitors, which is very good for our niche. Right now, we are not spending a single penny on ads, and all our visitors are coming through 100% organic channels.
Okay. What made you stop classroom coaching?
See, it was a very bold and difficult decision on my part to switch completely from physical to online. But I think the timing was correct and the market was ready for the move. And by this time, we had earned quite a reputation and goodwill online. And switching online had its own benefits. Now we could reach wider audiences. And intuitively, I knew that the future would belong to online players only.
Okay. Anu, tell us more about the importance of SEO in achieving organic ranking for your website.
See, if you are a webmaster, it makes sense to understand and implement SEO in your site. Consistent and ethical SEO does produce results in the long run. But a word of caution, just using keywords does not ensure ranking. The algorithms are smart enough to understand whether your content is actually worthy of ranking or not. You need to write content for the robots as well as for the actual users. The search engines uses a combination of algorithms and numerous ranking signals to deliver the most relevant web pages in the search results.
What are the challenges you faced during the process of setting up your business?
See, in my case, setting up was not a big task. I had all the support from my husband, but the real challenge started afterwards. Our biggest challenge was in the form of competition. We had big competition with big budgets for online and offline ad campaigns with countrywide presence and big teams. But the most powerful weapon with which we faced this competition was good content, whether in the form of good course curriculum or free mock papers, informative blogs on our website. And the only reason our website still ranks high on majority of the keywords is just good quality updated content. The second challenge we faced was plagiarism. And I think anyone in the edtech industry faces the same issues. It is something, is happening. At the same time, there is little you can do about it. And the third challenge we faced is of the technical nature. The technical glitches that happen from time to time, the problems with the hosting, the downtimes, etc. Though we have a full-time tech team with us, but some lessons we learn over the time through experience only.
Okay. So how did you go about choosing your niche?
From a very young age, I had good aesthetic sense. I used to draw well. I used to win prizes in various art and drawing competitions in school. In short, I was a creative kid. Now, this was a time when there was no internet and even desktops were rare. So we used to subscribe to various design magazines for inspiration. As a child, I was good with drawing, painting, crafts, and various DIYs. So transitioning into the design space was a very natural choice for me. And why the education industry? The answer again lies in the way we were brought up as kids. My father always used to stress upon the importance of education. And from a young age, we were introduced to books, and I, in particular, got hooked to books. And going to the yearly book fairs and coming back with a bag full of books was routine. And I still remember the big built in bookshelf in our house that was and is still full of books. I also enjoyed writing as a kid, and I used to write stories for kids' magazines like Champak and Balhans. And I remember we used to earn around rupees 250 to 300 per story. But it was a big achievement back then, and it was such an exciting feeling to see your name being published along with the story in a national magazine. So I would say I chose my niche in design education because it got me interested and excited, and I was passionate about my work. Also, I felt I would be able to add more value towards my niche.
Did you validate your idea and how it helped you in choosing your business idea?
See, we did not do any official idea validation in the form of some research or survey. But when we were starting off, I knew that if there are entrance exams for a subject, there is bound to be a coaching industry. And I was correct. And we were among the first few who gave the push to the industry and obviously benefited from the move. Also, when we moved online, I was aware that there existed a segment of students who will not go for classroom coaching for sure. Reasons may be that they were not able to afford the classroom coaching as the fees was high, or maybe they did not had the time to prepare for the competitive exams, like they're already preparing for the board exams, or maybe JEE or NEET, other competitive exams, or maybe they are residing in such remote locations with no access to good coaching classes nearby. So I knew the market was ripe enough for self-study material. We explored it and offered products accordingly. Then we also discovered a subcategory which wanted instant delivery of materials. And so we introduced ebooks, videos, and online tests, which were again received very well.
Being a woman entrepreneur, what are the challenges and also what are the benefits a person has?
In my case, being a female, I did not had any particular benefits or challenges. I always wanted to do something of my own, and thankfully, my husband always supported me. So back then, when we started in 2007, there was no concept of startups or the kind of support we get today from different government or private platforms which are helping women entrepreneurs. I don't know if something of this sort existed back then, but if it did, I was not aware. So we did not plan much except for the course curriculum, and our growth was very organic. We did not do any year-long plannings, just took one step at a time and just did what made sense to us.
So what, according to you, is the future of edtech industry in India?
I think future of edtech will mostly be dominated by AI, and the initiators will mostly benefit from the move. Right now, the AI that is being used in edtech is at a very basic level.
How do you find a balance between work, family, and social life?
See, when you own a venture, it is not possible not to bring work home. There's little work-life balance, and the boundaries between work and family is quite blurred. So if you choose to own a venture, you should be prepared for these minor discomforts or adjustments. It is all part of the game.
Do you consider yourself successful? And by what means do you measure success?
I would rather not talk about success in monetary terms, but I think I get my due when out of nowhere a random stranger calls and tells, hey, you know, your site is really brilliant. It is a mini encyclopedia on design. You're doing a good work. Or maybe when a student mails me and tells me how my study material has helped him score a good rank in a particular exam and how that has helped him in scoring good, getting a good scholarship in a good college. So such interactions with students make my day.
How do you spend your time outside work?
I like to read. In fact, I have a big collection of books. I like to draw. I like to paint. In fact, I have a lot of hobbies, all craft based. So a lot of time I spend on Pinterest. Also, I like to travel and visit new places, especially Indian forts and palaces.
What do you want to be known as?
I would like to be known as someone who was able to challenge and revolutionize conventional and age-old teaching methodology, and someone who was able to introduce novel and more interactive ways of teaching.
Any final message you would like to give to the aspiring entrepreneurs?
My advice is, if you have a dream, go follow it, chase it, but also be prepared for the hard work and the toil that comes with it. The fruits of your labor will come at a later stage. Many give up before that. What is required is patience and determination.
Tell us a little about Wiki.
See, I joined Wiki E-Commerce Council as a national president. Wiki is Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and it is India's first national women's business chamber empowering business women and women entrepreneurs globally. What drew me towards the initiative is the fact that I will be able to help fellow women entrepreneurs, share my learnings with them, and eventually help them with their businesses. Some visions of our council include to develop broad guidelines, plans, and strategies aimed at promoting representation of women in the e-commerce sector, encourage and empower them to venture into e-commerce. Also creating an online platform providing advice and support for women in the e-commerce sector to educate and make them aware of the funding opportunities and government support available to them. Creating networking opportunities for existing ventures so that they can collaborate, use each other's online platform, and benefit mutually.
Thank you so much for your time, Anu. It was great speaking with you. Take care and thank you.
Thank you, Neha.